Well, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Day in Life with Paul. I'm your host, Paul. In today's episode, I'm actually going to be reading out loud my personal journal. This one is my very first journal that I ever started recording my life in. And I was just reading the very first page, and it actually starts kind of abruptly. My very first words on page is me. I put one of those little asterisk things, and it says packing up car with final loads. So what that means is that I was moving out of my apartment that I had in Arizona, and I was packing up my car with the final loads. For approximately 12 minutes, I heard an intense yelling coming from an apartment on the north-facing wall on the south side apartment. I heard a little girl crying because of the yelling. At that moment, I decided that it was my duty to do something about it. I dropped the 4 gallons of water I was carrying, walked up to the door, and pounded on it 3 times hard as hell. I heard, "Oh geez, someone called the cops again." A really old woman answered the door and asked, "Can she help me?" I calmly said, "What's the problem?" She said that he, in quotes, was angry. I focused on the he, for the he was the only problem. I asked to talk with him. He wasn't in the living room anymore because he scurried to the only bedroom in the apartment. The large but short man walked up to me with big angry eyes and got way too close to me. I simply took one step back and asked, "What's wrong?" He gave me some bullshit answer. I asked if I could wipe my feet off and come in. They seemed shocked but agreed. I sat down with the man and expressed all that I went through. I sat down with the man and expressed all that I went through and all that I'm about to go through with living in my car, and how young I was because he was scared. Yeah, I read that right? And how young I was because he was scared. He was just about to get money. He was just about to get money enough to support himself, and he was going to have to move. Oh, so he was gonna have to move, so he's screaming at them, okay. Out of his mom/sister's house. So I would assume that the old woman was the mom's apartment. I said I have a girlfriend and am not gay, but human to human, I love you. I asked for a hug, and his face lit up with joy. I told him from personal experience, if you have challenges in life, simply moves out of your, if you challenge life, it simply moves out of your way. It's not going to be easy, but it will move. The next day, Anna called me. Anna was an old co-worker. Anna called me. She worked 12 hours, but there were 2 cars still there, and she wanted to go home. I drove 30 minutes there, and she expressed that the new guy was upset. After solving the dilemma, I drove back, laid all the contents of my car out on a blanket, did some downsizing, vacuumed the apartment, drove all the way back to Phoenix first night in car. Next day. So when I was working with that company, Trident Security, I was essentially like the manager of the other security. I would only work like 3 days a week and still get like a full paycheck, which was awesome. So 12:29, woke up about 15 minutes ago, started to read Ben Franklin for beginners. Have a real nice sense of calm. I was feeling real nice. Oh, how today... Did I say that? Oh, how today started off normal. Then I had a huge surge of anxiety, worrying and all around felt like shit. I was at work walking around and found a golf ball and started to dribble it. This, for some reason, brought me so much joy that I played with it for about an hour. Afterwards, I had a really nice talk with Alfredo. What the fuck is that? And felt so good that I vacuumed all of Tough and Needle. Side note, message Jess. I told her I received the box and told her my P.O. box number, and she replied, "That's good," smiley face. After work, I drove from Phoenix to Mesa to pick up Edgar. Who the fuck is Edgar? Went to the gym, took a shower, and handed out flyers. Oh, Edgar, that's right. At that time when I was moving out of my apartment, I wanted to restart to make a landscaping service. Again, like when I'm older now. So I picked up the Edger and then and I was handing out flyers to start a landscaping service out of my Honda Civic. Next day, made some coffee and left it on the countertop. Cleaning crew mistakenly threw it out. Combed hair in the main building bathroom and at Tough and Needle, and some dude asked everyone, "Did someone shave in the bathroom sink?" So like I combed my hair and like there was like some residue and I didn't. I fucking left it dirty and that was super embarrassing. Next day, woke up to phone dying at 1:40 a.m. An ex-girlfriend messaged me who wasn't the United Kingdom lady. Next day, about 2:41 a.m., decided to move back to California. Went to Tough. Now this is where it gets juicy. So out of the blue, at 2:41 a.m., decided to move back to California. Went to Tuft and Needle, made copies for free landscaping. Yeah, free landscaping. Why was it free? Set off alarm. Texted Travis that I will no longer be working for Trident Security. So just out of the blue, I basically said I quit. Went back to Tuff and Needle while no one was there, like it was just empty. And they gave me the code. I typed in. I told him I won't be working there anymore. Went to the laundromat, washed all the clothes, and I just fucking left it inside. Left it there. Went to the gym at 5 a.m., worked out, showered, canceled the membership, went to the library, returned 3 books and 3 audiobooks, got on the road, headed to Mom, Dad, Junior's girlfriend, and Aunt Kathy, Felicia, and Edward. And spent the next day there and told Dad the story of how I almost drowned and stole Edward's bed for the night. Next day, went to the gym with dad. So obviously I just canceled my membership for my gym, but I went to the gym at my father's gym membership. Went to the gym with dad. He taught me about racquetball. I taught him about bodybuilding. Said goodbye to everybody and left to Gold's Gym. So if you don't know, Gold's Gym is like where Arnold Schwarzenegger used to work out. I think he still does. As soon as I showed up, I saw Callan Von Mager walked right in front of my car. He's a famous YouTuber slash bodybuilder. I parked, got a picture with him. Afterwards, I went in and asked, so stupid. I went in and asked to talk to the hiring manager. He said to apply online and they would reach out to me. Went to Beverly Hills, saw a lot of Bentleys, Rolls Royces, one Lamborghini Aventador, but couldn't find Ty Lopez. I was trying to find Ty Lopez's house. Ty Lopez is like the guy who says, just here in my garage, just bought this brand new Lamborghini. That guy. I couldn't find his fucking house. Drove up Sunset Boulevard, rang the intercom of a random mansion and got advice. So yeah, I found a huge mansion and the guy, instead of saying, get the fuck off my property, why are you out? He actually just, he gave me some advice. I remember what he said. He said, you just have to pick something that you love and then simply go do it. Which was dope. Aventador, Ty Lopez, drove somewhere mansion. Then drove up the curb illegally into a parking lot at the beach and fell asleep. So yeah, that's where I still go nowadays to like do stuff. Woke up very worried about what the hell am I going to do. Walked down Santa Monica Pier and calmed down a bit and began to write. Drove down to Barstow to see Richard. He suggested that we move in together because things weren't working out with him. His friend and his friend's girlfriend, which if you listen to yesterday's episode, was still the friend of the sister who got murdered. So he was living with them still, and this is back in 2017, you know. I declined. I moved to discuss his weight problem. I'm like 350 pounds. He's probably about like 450 pounds. He was so soft and he got his things together and left. Got upset. Then me, Mom, and Junior discussed about his weight. And then we talked about life, and then we talked about consciousness. Then I gave everybody a hug and left back to Venice Beach. Next day, talked to Jess through email. Then she asked if I had Skype, and I asked her if she wanted to video call, and we did. It was awesome. I began to read again and had an immeasurable amount of pride of my reading abilities. Note for future Paul, fucking read. I am, asshole. Next day, took a walk all the way past Santa Monica Pier, turned in physical copy of resumes to Gold's Gym, emailed Lauren, bought some vodka from the store, even though that I'm 20, read Jess that she doesn't want to be with me. Reorganized trunk. Next day, I talked to an old friend. Next day, woke up at 6. Went to FedEx, made resume for security job, drove to Walmart. On the way, I realized I needed to shave. I remember this very vividly. I pulled over to a barber shop and the door was open, but the lights were off. Like it was closed, but the door was open. I called hello, but no one answered. I quickly grabbed my shaving kit, took off my shirt, shaved, got at work. Oh, yeah, so I got the job, which was awesome, and I started working that night. At work, smoked weed on the roof. Stupid. Next day, did nothing at all today. Bought some water, walked on the beach, bare feet. Next day, had first day at Gateway, which was the place where I was working. The place was horrible. It could be a 5-star apartment complex, but its management is complete crap. Today I cleaned all the trash in the trash chute. 5-star, here we come. Next day, I thought I wasn't working on this day, but I got woken up by Sonny, that's the guy, at 10 a.m. asking me if I was on post. Rushed down there, had a conversation with Jess, ended on, I can't be in a relationship right now. She took it bad, but understood. Talked to a guy who was also a security guard who had been in a Subway commercial, gave him the, in quotes, people are walking around like it's their second or third time back on Earth speech, end quote. Then I sat in my car and watched videos till I had to go home. Told mom I will bring her some brain octane. Got pulled over by the cops and got told I look 40. All I have to do is go to the DMV and print out a new driver's license. So I was living in Arizona, and now that I'm in California, I gave them the Arizona, and then they said you just got to go to the DMV and print out. They didn't give me any problem. Next day, woke up around 11-ish, sat in car, not doing shit till 12, then went to the gym. Asked dude how to gain strength in squats. He said do 5x5s, and that was going to the Gold's Gym again. Next day, talked to a guy who was military pressing more than 2 plates, on each side. I asked him if it's necessary to get 8 hours of sleep a night. He said, I've been getting 4 hours of sleep for the past 2 years. It was like this huge guy, and he's like military pressing, like 245 pounds. Went to work, worked from 1,800 hours to 200 hours. Right after, went straight to Barstow, wrote and delivered a letter to an old friend. Next day, woke up in the parking lot of a Walmart, went in, brushed teeth, arrived at mom and dad's house at 12:25, sat down with dad and talked about Richard, what I'm going to do, where I'm working, gave mom the brain octane and the book Essentialism, took down the trampoline and pulled up and pull-up bar. So when I was living there, I made a pull-up bar, and then we had a trampoline, and my family needed help taking them down because they were moving. Took down trampoline and dumped it. Oh yeah. So I took down the trampoline and dumped it. Almost got truck stuck. So we needed to get rid of that trampoline super quick, so I just put it in the back of the truck, and I just drove to a random place and just dumped it, and I almost got the truck stuck. Said goodbye, drove back to Los Angeles, scared the living shit out of me of a guy was standing way too close to my car. Oh yeah, because I woke up and I just saw that there was someone like standing like right next to my car, which was super weird. Way too close to me. Drove back to the pier. The gate was open at midnight. Went swimming at midnight. Next day, went to the gym, Gold's Gym. Held off on showering. Bought some 10% benzoyl peroxide for my feet. So around that time, I really wasn't taking care of my feet, and I had pitted feet, which were like little tiny holes all on the bottom of my feet, because I would go into the ocean, put on my shoes when they were wet, and sit in there all day, and then go back into the ocean, and that was so awful. So I got that shit, and I started fixing it. And then after I went swimming in freezing cold water, found calm, a huge calm. Took nap, bought new phones, sandals. Next day, went to Walmart, took phone case. So I probably stole a phone case. Next day, sent out court summons, finished writing journal in this book, went to work, got to leave at 11, got paid Bill 5. I realized that without a job, gym, or library, I had no purpose in life. Walked around the beach a little bit, found my pen, felt lonely. Next day, asked Jesse out, talked to a Muslim, and got a reading. I talked to a Muslim and I got a reading. Bought the book, The Power of Your Attitude. Next day, walked out to the beach, laid in the sand with no beach towel, and made pyramid thing. Next day, went to work, finished off work at 11:47, went to laundromat, had to walk around in boxers the entire time. Next day, woke up and there was a movie set from Universal Studios parked all around me. A green Lamborghini drove right behind me. Went to the gym, did some biceps and some chest. Went to take a shower, but there was no hot water. Put in navigation and it said 50 minutes. Showed up 17 minutes late. Talked to a Postmates worker named Dale Thompson. Got home, which was the beach. Drove on the opposite side of the road and a cop saw me. I quickly went over the curb and parked the car and ditched it. Found cop and he was arresting someone else. Next day, woke up to, hey, is that guy in that car? Is that a guy in that car? Drove out of the parking lot to the top and parts. Went to an interview at Postmates. Got the job, obviously. Anybody can get that job. Went to the beach, took a nap, went up, got background checked. Went to a hot spot in West Hollywood, delivered a pizza, then went to Sunset Boulevard. My phone messed up and wouldn't do the order correctly, but I still delivered it. Got a text that it went through after work, went to Barstow, arrived about 2:40 a.m., fell asleep at Walmart. Next day, woke up, arrived at mom and dad's. Sorry, it's just terrible writing. Cleaned the rafters in the garage, put everything in the garage trunk, and drove it out to the desert. I think someone called the cops, cleaned the backyard. Next day, got oil changed. Next need to be done is at 241,731 miles. So that's the next time that I needed an oil change for my 1996 Honda Civic. Currently at 238,731. Got it. Parked in the parking lot of a Walmart, read for about 50 minutes with headlights on. Battery died, waited around 2 hours till someone offered to help. Made 2 deliveries. The last one, my GPS on my phone messed up and I had to call and cancel the order. Next day, I woke up in the back seat. Seat was quite comfortable, actually. Went into Walmart, used the bathroom, got back in the car, and there was a security truck out there. Called Jess, started the how to live in your car. Went into Walmart and the security truck passed me when I was walking in, bought 2 Goober peanut butter jelly, a lint roller, and Starbucks double shot. Went to the gym and did Thursday through Friday's workout logs. Saturday sat in front of Gold's Gym and logged and ate oranges. Next day, woke up in the back seat, said in my mind, make sure not to ... Make sure not to. In not that dumb to look myself out. What? Got up, folded blanket, and looked myself out and locked myself out of the car. Didn't put on shoes. Walked to a Goodwill store and asked if they had a wire hanger. The lady said that they get thrown away, so I asked if I could look through the dumpster. She said sure. I walked to the back of the store and I was walking up to the dumpster. There was a wire hanger in the middle of the road. I proceeded to try to unlock my door when a man on a bike just walked up and started to look. Like he was like looking at my car, like I'm trying to get him, and he came so like close. So weird. Proceeded to, in the middle of the road, I proceeded to unlock my door when a man on a bike just walked up and started to look. I asked if he wanted to try. I left my back window down about an eighth of an inch, which was lucky as hell. A bit later, a glass repair truck pulled up. It took him about 18 minutes, but it worked. So like a tow truck basically came up and just opened it for free. Went to work and talked to the other guard that was there with me. He said, before you get married, don't have any regrets. Next day, called the hostel. So I needed an address at the time. So I just used this random hostel. And then my employer sent the check to the hostel. So I just fucked myself for no reason. Called the hostel. They did? Oh, they didn't have my check, but they have my check, but they had it, so call back Wednesday. Okay. Got new Postmates card because I lost it. Called Sonny, told him about the hostel. Next day, woke up, talked to Jess about her passing her driving test. Then I asked her to measure herself and we got into an argument. Then she told me in a text that she doesn't need a drill sergeant. Went to the gym and did leg day. Afterwards, I parked up at the beach, walked my blanket out to the water, laid down and rested. On my way back to put my covers in the car, I found an all black bracelet with all black roses. I put my covers in the car and headed to the restroom. Once I got there, I looked in all bathrooms and all were disgusting. I saw a cleaning crew person and asked if he was going to clean it, but before I could finish, he said nope. I got so angry at how rude he was. When I was finished, I stormed back to my car and saw this little mid-aged woman sitting in a wheelchair all by herself, and she gave me the biggest smile. I thought that if she was in a wheelchair and could find happiness, so could I. Next day, walked around and talked to Jess until the phone died. Dad called hostel and asked if they had my check. They did, for $619. Which was a fuck ton of money. I had nothing. Bought bread, cans of rice and beans, peanut butter, protein shaker, cup, GPS. Now I filled up my tank. How stressful people think / act like or be yourself. What the fuck? Next day, woke up in front of a Starbucks, saw a possum last night, went into the Starbucks, bought all shots in a cup. So if you like go to Starbucks and you say like add 2 shots to it, I just got all shots. A card declined. Went to Chase Bank and changed my address to my parents' address. Went to work, read finished The Theory of Everything. So I finished that book. And then started The Power of Your Attitude. Today went by quick. Next day, returned the GPS. Got amount for GPS in a gift card. Called Pet Boys to see how much it would cost to replace my transmission fluid. They said it was going to be $197, which now I would pay super quick because I just spent $200 on my tire, and like I did that, like it was like whatever. But at the time that was a fuck ton of money. So I went to McDonald's, taught myself how to do it, spent $50 on the fluid, and did it myself. Filled up antifreeze, put in oil, non-dripping stuff. So it says -4 days, so I didn't journal for 4 days. Woke up with a really bad sore throat, went to McDonald's and bought a salad. Next day, quit my job at Signal 88. So I quit the job with Sonny, and now I just have the Postmates job. Returned my shirt and jacket to Gateway. Completed my last order. Drove past a Ferrari dealership. Pulled over. Looked at a 458 and decided that I will have one. Got super frustrated. Made a Twitter account. Tweeted Gary V. Wrote Warren Buffett, like I wrote Warren Buffett a letter and called Ty Lopez's hotline. This is before medication. Next day, gave my number to a guy at TMT. So TMT is the money team, which is Floyd Money Mayweather's team, and I saw that there was a huge bus out front with the team. I was like, oh my god. I walked into the restaurant, and while they're sitting at the table, Floyd clearly wasn't there, but it was like his security, and I was just like, can you please give me my number? It was so embarrassing. So gave my number to a guy in TMT, took pictures of a Bugatti. Next day, oh, it looks like I missed a few days, but I didn't write it down. At 5:24 p.m., decided to move out to San Diego. Went to Gold's Gym, hopeful, canceled membership. Drove to P.O. Box. There was a man crouched over, holding a dog who was bleeding. I asked if he wanted to call 911. He said yes. They transferred me to Animal Hotline. I checked my mail. So I had a P.O. Box? Why the fuck did I use Hostel? My mail, and there was nothing in it. I came back and asked if they needed anything else. They said no, and I left. I went to Jack in the Box, filled up at the Shell gas station, drove all the way to San Diego, arrived at about 9:50 p.m., tested my oh, that's why. Tested my Postmates, and it worked. Went to La Costa Resort and Spa, walked around, used the bathroom, and saw a golf cart. So during all this shit, I'm already planning how I'm going to travel to 48 states. This is before I even know if it's possible. So I drove to San Diego from Los Angeles to see if I can make money that far. Next day, woke up, stole a golf cart, Broke up with Jess again. Did some Postmates work. Bought phone holder, multivitamins, and $80 worth of food. Next day, bought light coffee, put $400 in retirement, and $100 in e-fund. My headlight went out. Went on YouTube, taught myself how to do it, and did it. Threw out pendulum? I had a pendulum? Next day, took a shower and sink at the beach. Went to go see a house that mom and dad want to move into. 1113 York Drive, Vista 92084. Next day, on my way to Barstow, I stopped at Steve's house. Steve, he like when we were kids, he's like a neighborhood friend. So I went to go see him when I'm older. I stopped at Steve's house and he said, remember to rotate your tires. Get a weapon? And if I needed a place to stay, I could stay. That was nice. Gave me a can of Fix-A-Flat, which is super nice. Took a load of trash and took a massive trash shit in the back of the church. So after I saw Steve, I drove to Barstow, and then I did the same thing again. I took a whole bunch of stuff that my parents were throwing away because they were moving, and just took a trash shit in the back of the church. Talked to Ray about Matt Cummings. Random information. Ray's the neighbor across the street, and he was talking about Matt and his son becoming a manager. Talked to Richard, guy living next to mom and dad. So not Richard, my brother, Richard, the guy next to my mom and dad. Why people such as in the mob are so emotionless. So I was talking to him about why people in the mob are so emotionless. And it's because they're in deep thought. This is coming from him, this was not me. Made final load and went back to San Diego. Next day, was in the process of rotating my tires when my jack broke and my car was held up. Yeesh. By one bolt. Thank God I had that bolt on, because most likely it probably would have crushed me. I walked to the nearest gas station and asked the attendant to use his jack, and he agreed. I handed him my wallet and walked back to my car, finished rotating my tires. My keys were gone and my car was locked. I returned the jack. I looked for a wire coat hanger and found a bag of hangers. Wow. In a dumpster in the back of a mattress store. I unlocked my car with the wire and looked in my trunk for the keys, but they weren't there. I looked for about an hour for my keys, but no luck. I got out the spare key, which was in the trunk, and moved my car to a place where I could sleep. Next day, when I woke up, I drove around the block with my windows down because it was hot as hell in my car. I decided to look for my keys one more time before going to work. I went to the McDonald's and even checked the bathroom and looked, but still no luck. I walked over to the attendant at the gas station again and asked if she and asked, she had it, exclamation point. She said that she found it in the planter far from where I had even walked. Later that night, I took a shower on the beach in public to get ready for Ty Lopez. Oh, why didn't I mention this? So I bought a ticket to like one of his like a little events. So I was actually going to go see Ty Lopez. Once I arrived, I talked to many people. Ty was talking, answering, but I was far in the back to be seen by him, so I walked my way to the front of the crowd and held up my hand and held until I got him to pick me. I said, so from an ENTJ to an ENTP, what is it that you think that causes us to have consciousness? Ty, like a religious standpoint? Paul, no. What is it that dogs, dolphins, bears don't have consciousness, but humans do? Ty, read The Selfish Gene. Paul, I have. Ty, bullshit. It goes on the next question. Oh, he said bullshit, and then he went on to the next question. So I asked his bodyguard, can he ask Ty if he would be my mentor? Oh, wow. He nodded yes. I followed Ty around for about 2 hours until I was walking up a flight of stairs side by side with him, and asked him if he would be my mentor, but he said, just go do my online courses. So I went where you're not supposed to go, and I followed him up to the street to his Lamborghini. Oh, I turned the page. Yeah. Next day, went to the bank and made it so that I can get notifications on my phone so my card doesn't get declined, because I'm going to be going from state to state. Went to the Hollywood sign, saw chickens, a snake, horse, a mule, and made videos. Next day, woke up, did some Postmates work late into the afternoon, then drove to mom and dad's house, went, showered up. No one was there but Junior, which was perfect because I needed to take a shower. After I took a shower, I had a nice conversation with everyone. Sadly, Dad was not there because he was at work. I found out that Richard lost his job and was moving back in. I left to Vegas about 9 p.m. and showed up about 11 p.m. So the traveling has begun. I started at my parents' house, and then I said goodbye to everybody. Sadly, my dad wasn't there, and then now I went from California to Las Vegas. Left Las Vegas, rested up, and went to Utah. So, how do I explain it? In another book, in my big book, I have the descriptions of what I did when I went to state to state to state. So, next day, was that next day? Yeah, next day, saw Zion National Park and took a shower. Then I had to pay to get out, which pissed me off. Next day, almost died falling down a mountain at the Grand Canyon. So that's probably Arizona now. Then finally caught up with some Postmates work, got an oil change and uploaded some videos. Next day, drove for as far as I could, then pulled over to the side of the freeway and planned to sleep there for an hour and then continue to keep driving, but I slept until 9 a.m. and continued on my 6-hour drive. Got to New Mexico and there was no Postmates work available and I had $16 in my account. Went to Walmart and uploaded videos, and then I sat in my car. I ate some rice and beans, peanut butter, and jelly sandwiches, and started the book Edgar Allan Poe Selected Works. Next day, my check finally went through, so I pulled up to a gas station and filled up. Afterwards, I drove down the freeway a bit more, but got tired, so I pulled over and slept for an hour. I left my lights on. When I woke up, my battery was completely dead. Walked down to a very long driveway to go see the owner of the house could help me with a jump start, but there was about 50 cows and one of them started to run at me and the gate was open, so I started to run. Luckily, it was just running from one piece of land to another. Whew. So I walked to the other driveway and a huge black dog started to sprint towards me, so I began to walk away, but I began to walk even faster, so I picked up a cinder block and waited till it got closer. It came up to me wagging its tail, so I put my hand out in a fist so it could smell me. It was a very kind dog, so I began to walk back to the house. As I got closer, a kitten came out of the under of a tractor and led me all the way to the door. I knocked twice, but no one was home, so I left the dog and the kitten and headed back to my car. On my way back, I saw an SUV headed towards me. I flagged her down and asked her if I could get a jump start. She agreed, so I ran back to my car, got my jumper cables, and started my car. Afterwards, I drove to the Garden of the Gods. When I showered up, I got to see a massive rock balanced on another and a huge red rock for. Afterwards, I started to apply for Uber food delivery because Postmates still was not working. Found out that I was just in an inactive work zone. Went to an active zone and then did some work. Next day, went to Stratoja, saw the mines. I went 600 feet underground and took a train to see the tunnels. So it's like this elevator or escalator, elevator, whatever, and it takes you deep into the ground and you can see the mines. So that was cool. Got to see red salt rock with potassium in it. After I went to Walmart and saw prairie dogs. And then after I edited some videos for a few hours and then left to Oklahoma. Next day, the gas price for Oklahoma was only $1.89. I missed 2 days. After breaking into the state fair, I did some Postmates work now back on March 9th. I saw Ty Lopez in person and he had a different bodyguard with him. Oh, wait. March 9th. So it looks like I'm March 9th. I saw Ty Lopez, but today I saw just a different bodyguard. I saw the 2 family members with him walk right by me. What? I saw him again? I said, hey, don't you work with Ty Lopez? And he said, yep, and kept walking. It was a cool experience, but a trippy experience. So I guess I was in a different state and I saw one of Ty Lopez's employees. I don't remember that, but. Next day, went to Louisiana and then straight to Arkansas. Arkansas in 1 day. Stopped at Flying J, took a shower and washed my clothes. So Flying J is like a gas station with like showers in it for like truckers. -3 days. Arrived in Alabama, pulled over to a rest stop, and it had a huge spaceship. Fell asleep, woke up in the morning and went to a Starbucks coffee. Next day, decided to only write in this book for really important points in my life. Will continue to write in. I just want to explore book. So that's the big book. Journal until 50 states is explored. So this is a few months later. Got in a car accident. And this is what I was telling you before, is April 1st, which is Logan Paul's birthday. Way before I went to his house and got arrested. And I got in a car accident going 45 miles per hour into a guardrail with no seatbelt on. Was perfectly fine. So I'm at my 25th state and I'm still traveling. Bought a new vehicle. So I crashed my 1996 Honda Civic and I had to sell that for $100. And then I bought a new vehicle, a 1996 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Noticed that there was some problems. Sold the Honda for $100. Fast forward a few days. Got my car stolen. So that car that I just bought, I remember I was doing the Postmates, I was inside, and I was walking back to the car, and I just saw my car starting to move, so I stood in front of it and they would have hit me. So I jumped out of the way, but I noticed that they got caught up in traffic, so I just bolted it all the way through the middle of traffic. And as soon as I was getting closer, both of the black people, they got out, and then my car was still in drive, so it rolled forward and smashed into another car. And then this guy, he was just like, he was not with it. I was telling him, they just stole my car, this and that. And he was like, nope, we got to get the insurance. So I just got in and I just fucking left. Few days passed. Holy fuck, it's 8:07 at night. I'm in the parking lot of a Motel 6 and just got about 10 minutes ago, a cop on a megaphone said, one of you's not supposed to be in the parking lot. someone left and they didn't notice me. I was sleeping in a 1996 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Forgot to buy phone. A few weeks passed, so I had to bullet point a few of these. So a lot has changed. Got back with Jess. Had my arm cut open. So at this point, I'm done traveling. This is a few weeks later. Few weeks? Yeah. And moving back with my parents. So I got my arm cut open in a haunted insane asylum, which I still have the scar today. Had to go to the hospital to get my arm fixed and got charged $4,700. Moved to Valley Center in a 3-bedroom house that sits on 3.2 acres with mom and dad. Sold my 1996 Jeep Grand Cherokee to the landlord for $500 because I didn't have money. So with the Jeep Grand Cherokee, it was barely working at all. And as I was coming back from traveling, 1 hour and 27 minutes away from my parents' house, the fuel pump died. So I had to call my friend. They brought like a little trailer and then they towed it back. Next day, forgot to do to-do list, went to the gym with Edward, got direct deposit from Chase with what money? Switched license plate. Switched license plate on Jeep and drove 1 hour away to the security office. So now that I'm living back with my parents again, I tried to get a job. And I took the Jeep that I just sold to the landlord, that's not even mine anymore. And I took the license plate. I put a license plate on it. Switched license plate on the Jeep and drove an hour away to a security office to drop off the form. Oh, the direct deposit form. Okay. So the Jeep made it to the office perfectly fine, but on the way back, I had to pull over, turn off the engine 3 times, and let it rest because it was acting like it was going to cut off. When I got home, I made sure that the bike was tuned up and ready to go because I might have to ride like a pedal bike 3 hours away to my job. So I got a job now. So I got a new job. And that's like a 3-hour bike ride. Next day, said fuck that to riding my bike to training. Oh yeah, I redid my gym membership now. Riding my bike to training, took the license plate from the landlord's car. The landlord was storing other cars that he had on the property. Took the license plate from the landlord's car, drove all the way to training, met a really cool security guard who was 19 and he was not crushed by society in believing that he's just a robot. Then I left all the way home. Very strange. Next day, Mowed some of the backyard. Everyone left the house, so I decided to walk to the library and rode as I walk on. On the way back, I got so dehydrated that I laid on the ground, and then a paramedic in his own personal vehicle stopped and gave me a ride home. That was lucky. I remember I thought I was going to die that day. I was so dehydrated. The library was like 3 miles away, you know, fucking, it was hot as hell. Next day, spent the entire day recovering from my heat stroke the day before. Next day, woke up about 10-ish, didn't go for a walk or read. Next day, went to a Chevy dealership to look at a Camaro. Sadly, I forgot my phone, so I couldn't vlog the thing. But I showed up, and all they had was a 2014 Camaro, but I wanted a 2015 Camaro. It was still awesome though, so I test drove it, which was, they shouldn't have let me. I put it in manual and let it fly. After I was done, I went home and got ready for work. Next day, went to Walmart Supercenter and Walmart Neighborhood Market to get 18 gallons of water, turkey, chicken, broccoli, and spinach to get ready for a metabolism reset. Next day, woke up and cooked lean turkey and vegetables, and cooked vegetables for lunch. Left on bike. Richard and Edward saw me and gave me a ride back home. I went in to ask Dad, did you guys already have planned to move to Valley Center? Answer, yes. I went into the backyard and screamed at myself. I realized that I'm going to die broke and have accomplished nothing, in all caps, in life. Even though that I just traveled to 48 states. I cried. I got in Richard's car and left 30 minutes early to go vacuum the car. The entire way there, I realized how pathetic I really am. Jesus. I can't support myself. I can't even buy a car. I can't even pick up my girlfriend from the airport in 5 days. I'm a loser. Thoughts of suicide. Still, as I write this, I am pissed at one thing and one thing only, myself. When I got to work, I was offered 2 slices of pizza, but I was on my metabolism reset day 3, so I simply got the pizza out of my view and put it in Richard's car so I could give it to the family later. Then I sat down to journal and tried to step, but miserably failed. At that too. I talked to a truck driver. So now I'm at work. I remember this pretty vividly. I talked to a truck driver, and I was like the security, and I want to make sure that my camera's still on because I didn't charge it 100%. Oh God, I am so sore right now. Oh, good googly moogly. Oh, baby, Jesus. Oh, God. I talked to a truck driver and said, you know, I have a... Okay, so I talked to a truck driver, so it was just me and him, and he was signing his truck in. And I said, you know, I had a pretty rough day. How do you maintain such a positive attitude because he had such a nice attitude. He said, well, my pregnant wife was killed by a drunk driver. Now I could fall into a depression and begin to use drugs and drink, which I did, is what he said. But I could also put things into perspective. I could be thankful that I'm not over in another part of his either. You could pick up that gun and kill, or your mother/sister, daughter gets raped. Then this was such an eye-opening to me. So yeah, his pregnant wife got killed by a drunk driver. Next day, felt super sick from the night before because I drank so much vodka. Threw up the night before, then I was getting drunk with my brothers. Like, threw up the night before, then woke up to go buy a new car. I was looking up on OfferUp and I found this Acura Legend 1994. Make first payment of $600. So I went and bought it. Drink a lot of water at the dining room table, walked out to the porch to get some fresh air. Oh no, ... started to feel like I was going to throw up. 3, ... 2, ... 1, ... waterfall. I just threw up a whole bunch of water. After I was done throwing up, I hopped into the back of my mom's Lincoln to be dropped off at the guy's house. After I gave the guy $600 and he went inside, I put it in reverse. So I'm at the car of the guy who I'm buying the car. I'm buying a car and I gave him half of the money, which was $600. And I put this Acura in reverse, backed it up about 10 feet, put it in drive, click, dead, and just turned off. I'm like, WTF. Then I started it back up, gave it a car, started back up, a car that was, and brought it home. So I still bought it. Next day, these are like bullet points. Put a divider up into the room because I was sharing a room with my oldest brother. Was sharing the room with Richard so Jess could feel more comfortable because she was coming over. Washed 3 security shirts and put them all out on the line. Next day, brought Edward to work, went to work, showed up 40 minutes late, borrowed $40 from mom to go pick up Jess. So this car that I just bought, which is falling apart, I borrowed $40 from my mom to drive all the way to the airport. I think it was like an hour drive. Left early to go home, get food for the night, left to LA International Airport. Next day, woke up about 9 a.m. to the phone call from Bob at Securitas asking if I left work early. Yeesh. Oh, I left early. Oh yeah, I just left. Fuck. That's where it was. Oh, that was the company. It was Securitas. Oh, I left work early. I said yes. He said I can't do that, and then I said okay. Turned on the car. I turned on the car and the alarm went off. Waited till it stopped. Afterwards, I drove the rest of the way to the airport to pick up Jess at 5 p.m. So I just left work to go pick her up. Once I showed up, I asked a parking attendant how much it would cost to park the car for about 7 hours. She said it was going to be about $36. I said, fuck that, and Googled the closest gas station, and the closest one was only 3 minutes away, so I parked there. This gas station just happened to be a Jiffy Lube, so at first I walked about 1/4 mile down the road, found a huge CVS, Ralph's, Petco, etc. parking lot with free parking. So I walked back to the Jiffy Lube and decided to get a free oil top off and tire air fill. As I was sitting in the waiting room enjoying free coffee, air conditioning, and TV, I watched as two very old men complained that they had been waiting for an hour and 20 minutes. Meanwhile, I had been waiting for 2 hours, having a blast watching World's Dumbest and charging my phone. When I was done, I drove to the parking lot of the CVS, got out, and walked down the street where I saw huge planes flying overhead. A dealership with a 2017 Corvette, Ferrari, and a Rolls Royce. I really wanted a gift for my girlfriend, but sadly only had $10 in my bank account and I needed it for gas. So I saw a bushel of flowers. I thought that they looked pretty. I got it. I literally walked around for 2.5 hours collecting about 15 different flowers and made a bouquet. I still had about 15 minutes to kill, so I walked into a Ralph's, stole a brush, and then brushed my hair. Then I walked into a Petco and saw a lot of animals and left to get Babe. So I left work early, but I was still early to pick her up. My first time passing Terminal 2, I didn't see her and I started to freak out. I thought maybe I had gone the wrong way, airport, so I looped around, parked at the front of Terminal 2, and walked. Babe. So I gave her a big kiss and her bouquet, and then walked over to the car, parked, packed her luggage, and headed to work. Wait, what? Or so I thought. About 1 mile down the road, the car started to overheat. Pulled over, it died again. So I'm with my girlfriend now, and like I'm having these car problems. ... Great. I had some antifreeze in the trunk, so I filled the empty reservoir. Then we got back into the car, and about 5 minutes down the road, it cut off again. Right before we drove onto the freeway, it took about 2 minutes to fix, which felt like forever. After I got started a second time, I just drove straight, saw a Jack in the Box, parked up, and went inside after drinking a Diet Coke with just stealing super glue from a Shell gas station. My supervisor called. I was supposed to be there at 5 p.m. and it was 5:24. Fuck. And I'm like, I'm in Los Angeles and I gotta be in Valley Center. So how'd that work? So I'm supposed to be at work, being 2 hours away. Oh, so I was supposed to be there at 5 p.m. and it was 5:24, being 2.5 hours away. I told him that I was having car troubles. After I hung up, I super glued the reservoir, which had a crack in it. together. Whoa! Oh my god, that scared the fuck out of me. That was a possum. Fuck. Asshole. Oh, that was a big possum. I asked, you couldn't hear me speaking? You're just gonna come around the corner like that? I super glued the reservoir, which had a crack in it, together right before we left. I asked a guy what he thought was wrong with it. He said, for sure, the water pump. Not an easy fix, in quotes. So we got back in the car, and on the freeway, about 2 miles down the freeway, the engine stopped in the middle of traffic and would not start. I told Jess to get into the front seat and I'll push. We had to cross one lane and across an entrance. So I was like in the middle of traffic and I had to push the car. Super dangerous. Thank God that it was thick traffic, I remember. To the freeway, gladly 2 cars helped us. So like they kind of stopped and like let us in. After, I actually like drew like what happened and shit. After I got over to the side lane, I called Dad, Edward, Felicia, Richard, but no one answered. Then at 6:36, my supervisor called and asked what my ATA was, actual time of arrival. I told him maybe 7:30. It's a possum again, but he's running off in that direction. My ATA, maybe 7:30. He said okay and hung up. I drove in the emergency lane for about a mile and it seemed okay, so I merged back to the normal lane and it drove good for a while. About 5 miles down the road, me and Jess thought that it was running good, but we were wrong again. When it stopped this time, no one tried to help. I pushed the car to a freeway exit and waited till it could start again. When it drove again, I put it in front of a gas station and I got another person's advice. He said wait about 20 to 25 minutes, then start the engine and put water in the radiator, not the radiator reservoir. Duh. So we just waited in the back of the car and did what he suggested. It worked. Exclamation point. We drove all the way to work and showed up at work, but it was 9:56. But there was already another guard there, obviously. So I called up the supervisor at 9:58 and told him sorry and confirmed that I was working tomorrow 5 p.m. to 1 a.m. Me and Jess drove home and arrived at 10:50. Once we were home, we had a shower, changed, and Richard let us have the room for the night. Next day, Jess woke me up super early by my standards at 9 a.m. She asked if I wanted eggs. I said yes. She asked how many. I said 6. Then I fell back asleep for about 10 minutes. Once we ate breakfast, I showed her around the 3.2 acres, went to Starbucks and the gym. When we got back home, I got a call back for an interview at Valley View Casino. Then we took about an hour rest, made some lunch, and headed to work at Cisco. So that's where I was late at, Cisco, at Securitas. I smuggled her in the back seat, and once the guard was gone, I brought her into the guard shack. So I just brought her to work with me. We watched Netflix and she took a nap because she wasn't feeling well. Then I sat down and journaled. Next day, woke up, went to the gym with Jess, did cardio and some lat pulls. We went to a neighborhood Walmart and bought some bananas. We forgot to bring food to work, so we went to Denny's. Next day, had interview today, was planning on waking up at 7 a.m., but both mine and Jess' alarms didn't go off, so we woke up at 8 a.m. It was a 30-minute drive, and the interview was at 10. Once I showered up, I was wearing dirty slacks, dirty shoes, and a black shirt. Oh, this was at the dealership that I went to go test drive that Camaro. They gave me an interview. It's so stupid. This wasn't Valley View Casino interview. This was it's very stupid. I just showed up. I didn't give a fuck. Once I was done talking to the interviewer, I had to fix my application. After I was done with the interview, me and Jess went to Aldi and bought some Rice Krispies. When we got home, Edward's girl F, friend, person showed up, and I drove with him to get hookah stuff. We bought macaroni to work with us, and I think the other guard might have saw Jess in the back seat. Then we talked deeply, watched Netflix, and Jess took a nap before the gym. Next day, prediction for tomorrow. I want to wake up once we feel like it. Eat good egg. So I'm trying to predict tomorrow. What the fuck? So I want to wake up once we feel like it. Eat a good egg, spinach, omelet, then pack some turkey sandwiches into Capri Sun for lunch. Go fill up for gas, go to the beach, walk around on Santa Monica Pier, eat lunch, see Lamborghini Aventador, talk to the guy who owns it, then go to a sushi place. What the fuck was that? So that's the prediction for tomorrow, and then this is tomorrow. Woke up, made an omelet with spinach in it, and shared half of it with Jess. Then I had to buy a lot of time because I had to meet the guy who was selling me the Legend Acura at 4 p.m. and it was 10 a.m. So I packed 2 sandwiches and 2 Capri Suns into a cooler along with Jess's stuff. Then Mom gave me the great idea to go to the lake. So we went on the way. We almost ran out of gas, but thankfully we got to a gas station right before we arrived. We went inside and bought a Monster and fizzy water. Once we arrived, I parked right in front of the sign that says no vehicles beyond this point. Me and Jess spent about 2 hours at the lake and then drove the 40 minutes back home. Once we were back home, it was about 2 p.m. So we watched some of the movie Mona Then we packed everything into the car and picked up the pink slip and headed to the beach. Once we arrived, there was no paying for parking, which was awesome, so it was free parking. We grabbed all the bags, walked down a trail, and had to scale down a 12-foot tall wall using a rope. We found a little cave at the bottom, so we laid out our towels and relaxed. We swam for a little bit, but quickly got out. Once we were done eating, I carved a P+J on the sand wall. After we had our fun, I took Jess to see War for Planet of the Apes. I clapped at the end. No one joined. It was about 10 p.m. at night and tried to take Jess to Hometown Buffet, but they were closed. Then I tried to take her to a sushi place, but that was closed. So we settled for Pizza Hut. Then I drove all the way home and we passed out. Next day. On this day, I was kind of tired of just went to the gym. I'm not gonna include that because it's a little bit inappropriate. I went and bought a mattress. We got a tent too, but just took it. Oh, I stole something else. God damn. Once we got home, I leveled out the ground under the tree, set up the tent, and put the air mattress in it. After we came inside and watched Chips with Mom and Dad, after we finished watching Mona, and went into the tent and fell asleep. And I didn't realize how fucking long this is gonna take. But this is the end of today's episode, but I swear I thought I was gonna be able to read this whole thing. But clearly not. So tomorrow I'm going to continue off of what we have right now. This is so beautiful. I've been thinking about this for such a long time. I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.
The funds, let's put down the cuts, let's see who was talking. I'm not finna cap, your mama's a slut, might pop out the cut and fuck on you, Molly, and I'm not